Under a blazing, unforgiving sun, the world held its breath. The land was a canvas of cracked earth and skeletal trees, dry and silent. In this place, water was more than a resource. It was a rumor, a memory. To survive here meant learning the art of patience, of drawing strength not from the ground beneath, but from the quiet resolve within. Across this vast, empty stage, a lone crow charted a weary path. He flew low, his wings heavy with fatigue. Each beat a struggle against the dense, heated air. His throat was a desert of its own, burning with a thirst that seemed to consume him from the inside out. He was a small, dark speck against an endless expanse of brown and gold, searching for a single drop of relief. The search was relentless, a desperate pilgrimage. He scoured the parched fields, their crops long surrendered to the drought. He followed the winding, dusty paths that led from nowhere to nowhere. He hopped over sun-baked stones, each one a potential signpost that led only to more disappointment. The world offered no answers, no hint of the water his body craved. Hope was starting to feel like a mirage. And then, just as despair began to set in, he saw it. Tucked beside an abandoned path, almost hidden by the tall, dry grass, was an old clay pot. It stood there, a silent monument to a time when people, and perhaps water, were more common. A flicker of hope, small but bright, ignited in his tired eyes. He approached it cautiously, his heart fluttering with a fragile optimism. Could this be it? He peered over the rim, his beak stretching as far as it could. There it was. Water, real, life-sustaining water shimmering at the bottom. But his hope turned instantly to disappointment. It was there, but it was impossibly far down, a cool, dark mirror reflecting his own frustration. His beak couldn't reach it. The very thing he needed was right in front of him, yet completely out of his grasp. Exhausted and defeated, the crow stepped back. A wave of resignation washed over him. Giving up felt so easy, so logical. He could just fly on, perhaps find a shadier spot to rest, to let the inevitable happen. Continuing felt impossibly hard. The pot was a cruel joke, a promise offered and then snatched away. His long shadow stretched out on the ground, a portrait of his own doubt. But, as he stood there, something shifted. Instead of turning away, he paused. He looked again, not just at the water he couldn't reach, but at the entire situation. He observed the shape of the pot, the weight of it, the space between its rim and the water's surface. He glanced at the ground around him, littered with small, smooth stones. A different kind of thought began to form, a thought that connected effort not to failure, but to possibility. He wasn't just a thirsty bird anymore. He was a problem solver. With a newfound sense of purpose, he hopped over to the nearest stone. It was small, but it had weight. He picked it up carefully in his beak, its rough texture a solid reality against his tongue. He carried it back to the pot, a tiny payload of determination. With a deliberate tilt of his head, he dropped it in. It landed with a quiet asterisk plink asterisk, a small sound in a vast silence. He peered inside again. The water had risen, but only by a fraction. It was a change so small it was almost imperceptible. It wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. For a moment, the old doubt could have returned. All that effort for such a tiny result. But this time, he didn't see failure. He saw a process. He saw proof that his idea worked, and so began his work. He flew back and forth, from the stony ground to the clay pot, a tireless pendulum of effort. Again, and again, and again. Each trip was a small victory. Each stone, carried in his beak, was a testament to his refusal to surrender. The sun beat down on his back, dust kicked up around his feet, but his focus was singular. Pick up, carry, drop, repeat. Each stone mattered. Each one was a step. Slowly, almost secretly, the water began its ascent. With each stone that splashed into the growing pile at the bottom, the surface climbed higher. It was a quiet transformation, with no grand announcements, no sudden breakthroughs. It was just the steady, undeniable result of consistent action. The crow watched, his energy renewed, not by rest, but by the sight of his own progress. The goal was getting closer. And then it happened. The surface of the water crested the pile of stones and rose just high enough to meet the rim. At last, the crow dipped his beak into the cool liquid. He drank deeply, the water washing away the dust, the thirst, the doubt. Strength flowed back into his tired body with every single drop. It was the most satisfying drink of his life. A reward earned not by chance, but by thought and toil. He stood beside the pot, no longer weary and defeated, but tall and composed. What had seemed an insurmountable obstacle just a short while ago had been overcome. Not with magic, not with brute force, but with patience, with cleverness, with the simple act of trying one more time. He had transformed his reality. There was no applause. No audience had gathered to witness his struggle or his triumph. The world remained as quiet and indifferent as before, but the victory was his, and it was profoundly real. It was a quiet, personal achievement that resonated deep within him. With his thirst quenched and his spirit restored, the crow spread his wings. He pushed off the ground, rising effortlessly into the open sky. The sun, once his adversary, now bathed him in a warm, golden light as he flew away from the pot and the pile of stones that marked his victory. This is a story we all know, but its truth is one we often forget. In our own lives, the greatest rewards, the most profound moments of fulfillment, rarely come from a stroke of luck or a single, heroic act. They are built, stone by stone, through dedication, through thinking differently, and through the quiet, stubborn refusal to give up. They come from the simple, powerful willingness to keep trying. Thank you for watching.